Dun 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 da 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 da. You can hear that music just by thinking about it, can't you? It is the anthem of adventure, the soundtrack to one of the greatest cinematic icons in history. We are talking about the man with the fedora, the bullwhip, and a deep hatred for snakes. We are talking about Indiana Jones. Welcome back to Then to Now Celebrities, the channel where we take a look at the biggest stars and franchises to see how they've evolved from their humble beginnings to their legendary status today. I'm your host, and today we are digging up the history, the secrets, and the untold stories of the Indiana Jones saga. From the sands of Egypt to the jungles of Peru, Harrison Ford took us on a journey that spanned over 40 years. But did you know Indiana Jones almost wasn't played by Harrison Ford? Or that the character was originally named Indiana Smith? We've got a lot of treasure to uncover in this video, so before we grab our whips and swing across the chasm, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You don't want to miss out on our next celebrity evolution. To understand the legend, we have to go back to May 1977. George Lucas has just released a little movie called Star Wars, and to escape the stress of the box office premiere, he went on vacation to Hawaii with his good friend Steven Spielberg. While building a sandcastle, metaphorically speaking, Spielberg confessed he always wanted to direct a James Bond movie. George Lucas looked at him and said, "I've got something better than Bond." He pitched an idea inspired by the adventure serials of the 1930s and 40s. He called the character Indiana Smith. Spielberg loved the concept but hated the name Smith. Lucas replied, "Okay, how about Jones?" And just like that, history was made. But here is a crazy then to now fact. The character's first name, Indiana, wasn't random. It was the name of George Lucas's Alaskan Malamute dog, the same dog that inspired the look of Chewbacca in Star Wars. So the greatest adventurer of all time is technically named after a very fluffy puppy. Production began on Raiders of the Lost Ark, released in 1981, but the casting process was a nightmare. George Lucas actually didn't want to cast Harrison Ford. Why? Because Ford had already been in Lucas's American Graffiti and Star Wars. Lucas didn't want Ford to become his Robert De Niro, the guy he puts in every movie. So who was the first choice? Tom Selleck. Yes, the Magnum PI star with the legendary mustache. Selleck actually landed the role and did screen tests, which you can still find on YouTube. He was perfect for it. But CBS wouldn't let him out of his contract for Magnum PI, so he had to decline. Ironically, the shooting of Magnum PI was delayed, so Selleck could have done the movie after all. Harrison Ford stepped in just weeks before filming began, and he brought a gruff, cynical yet charming energy that defined the character. One of the most famous scenes in cinema history happened by accident in this movie. You know the scene. Indy enters a Cairo marketplace, a swordsman does a dazzling display of skill, and Indy just tiredly shoots him. Originally, this was scripted as a massive choreographed sword fight. But on the day of filming, Harrison Ford and most of the crew were suffering from terrible dysentery. Ford was sick, exhausted, and couldn't stay away from his trailer for more than 10 minutes. He asked Spielberg, "Can I just shoot the sucker?" Spielberg said yes. They filmed it in a couple of takes, and it became one of the funniest character moments in the franchise. Speaking of iconic moments, which Indiana Jones movie is your personal favorite? Is it Raiders? Last Crusade? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to see which one wins. After the massive success of Raiders, the team returned in 1984 for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Now, a fun fact many people miss: Temple of Doom is actually a prequel. It takes place in 1935, 1 year before Raiders. This explains why Indy isn't obsessing over the Ark of the Covenant and why Marion isn't there. This movie was much darker. It featured heart-ripping rituals, child slavery, and a chilled monkey brains banquet. It was actually so intense that parents complained. Because of this movie and Gremlins, Steven Spielberg suggested to the MPAA that there should be a rating between PG and R. Thus, the PG-13 rating was born. you can thank Indiana Jones for the modern movie rating system. And we have to talk about the cast. This film introduced us to Ke Huy Quan as Short Run. For decades, Ke Huy Quan retired from acting because he couldn't find roles. But as we know on Then to Now, life has a way of circling back. In 2023, Ke Huy Quan won an Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the emotional reunion between him and Harrison Ford on the Oscar stage made grown men cry. It was the perfect then and now moment. In 1989, we got what many consider the perfect sequel, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Spielberg wanted to apologize for the darkness of Temple of Doom, so he went back to the fun, adventurous tone of Raiders. The brilliance of this movie lies in the casting of Henry Jones Sr. Since Indiana Jones was created as a James Bond type of character, Spielberg decided the only person who could play Indy's father was the original James Bond himself, Sean Connery. The chemistry was electric, but here's a funny age fact. Sean Connery was only 12 years older than Harrison Ford. In the magic of Hollywood, that's enough to be a father. This film gave us the origin of everything. Why Indy uses a whip, he hurt himself practicing. Why he has the scar on his chin. Harrison Ford actually got that scar in a car accident in real life, but in the movie, it's from the whip. And why he hates snakes. The ending of Last Crusade, with our heroes riding off into the sunset, was supposed to be the end. It was the perfect goodbye. If you're enjoying this deep dive into cinema history, please take a second to smash that like button. It really helps the YouTube algorithm show this video to more adventurers like you. But Hollywood never lets a good franchise sleep forever. 19 years later, in 2008, Ford put the fedora back on for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The reception was mixed. While it was great to see Ford back, fans were divided on the use of CGI, the aliens, aka interdimensional dings, and the infamous scene where Indy survives a nuclear explosion by hiding in a lead-lined refrigerator. That scene coined the phrase nuking the fridge, which is the new jumping the shark. But looking back from then to now, the movie was a box office hit. It acknowledged Indy's age, moving the setting to the 1950s Cold War era. Finally, in 2023, we received the final chapter, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This was the first film not directed by Spielberg, but by James Mangold. It featured a technological marvel, the de-aging of Harrison Ford for the opening sequence. We literally saw the then version of Ford fighting Nazis, transitioning into the now version of the 80-year-old actor. Regardless of what you think of the plot, seeing Harrison Ford in his 80s still bringing emotional depth and grit to this character was a testament to his star power. He made it clear, this is the end of the line for him as Indiana Jones. So what makes this saga so special? Unlike James Bond or Superman, Indiana Jones is human. He gets punched, he bleeds, he makes mistakes. He doesn't win because he has superpowers, he wins because he is stubborn and smart. And we cannot forget the music. John Williams wrote the Raiders March. Originally, he wrote 2 different melodies and asked Spielberg which one he liked. Spielberg said, "Let's play both of them together." That became the bridge and the main theme we know today. From the leather jacket to the dusty fedora, Indiana Jones is the definition of cinematic adventure. From a sandcastle in Hawaii to a legendary 5-film saga spanning 40 decades, Indiana Jones has taught us that it's not the years, honey, it's the mileage. Harrison Ford has evolved from a carpenter turned actor into a Hollywood legend, and Indiana Jones will forever be his greatest legacy alongside Han Solo. Thank you for joining us on this adventure. If you love this video, make sure to check out our other Then to Now evolutions right here on the screen. Don't forget to subscribe to Then to Now Celebrities, leave a comment, and like the video. Until next time, keep exploring.